Hello and welcome back. Well, several weeks ago I made a video on this new, second-hand scroll saw that I bought, and I had to do a bit of tuning up on it to get it running right. And as you can see, I've been using it a little bit to do some small projects, which have come out pretty good, I think. However, I have this on my workbench, and you can see the bench is a bit of a mess with all the bits and the sawdust from the scroll saw. So in this video, I want to do some upgrades. The biggest upgrade will be to build a stand for the scroll saw. I have these legs here that I'd built about 3 years ago for my lathe. However, I've disassembled that lathe now and sold it. But I have these legs left over, so they're already made and I just have to do some modifications and then I'll be able to build a nice stand for the scroll saw. Another thing I want to do is sort out the blades. They come in these packets here, but I want to put them in little containers and have them easily accessible when I'm using the scroll saw. I have a power board here which I plug the scroll saw into. It's got USB so I can plug my light into there as well. And these outlets are covered by surge protection. So I want to fix this power board onto the machine as well. And probably one of the other big upgrades is to add a foot pedal. That allows you to turn the machine on and off with your foot, and you can have two hands holding and maneuvering the work at all times. There may be some other little upgrades as well that I'll get into, but we'll see how we go with these ones first. These are the two legs that I have, and the top sections here will be chopped off and removed to get them to the correct height. This is a piece of 21mm plywood, and that will go in there as a table, and the scroll saw will be mounted to this board. And I want to be able to tilt this so I can get a better angle at the scroll saw, so I need to work out a mechanism for that. I think what we'll do is we'll get these legs up on the bench and then I can clamp them down and have them all set up properly. I have the legs clamped down and I've drawn a line here and then two lines at right angles to that so that I know the legs are all square and parallel. I've also measured the width at the front here and at the back there, so that is all good. I've marked off this area here and this will be chopped off and removed on both sides. But I think I'll put a little gusset in here just to stop these legs closing up when that top piece is removed. This piece of steel is an original part on that lathe stand that I built, so I'm reusing that as one of the braces. And I've got some 50 by 50 or 2-inch equal angle which I'll use as well. That brace already has a hole in it, so I'm bolting it into one side, and on the other side I'm just clamping it on. But this brace will be welded at both ends onto the legs. I do a similar thing here at the top of the legs, but this is just a brace to stop the top bending in, so it's just clamped here, it won't be welded. So this is the complete layout. There's the support bar at the bottom here, be welded at both ends. The angle brace is here, welded top and bottom at both ends. The top piece here is just a brace and this part will be cut off anyway. Round to the front, we have the part at the top here which will be welded on both ends, top and bottom. This is just another supporting brace to stop the legs bending in. However, there is another part down the bottom here which will be welded at both ends. So it's all clamped up and I start with tacking and then welding the joints. This is the bar underneath. This is the bar at the top on the front. And then the bar at the bottom on the back. And that's the other side. That bolt will be removed. I'm cutting a bit of flat bar stock here for the gussets that I need for each side. Those are tacked and then fully welded in place. Once the gussets are in, I'm able to cut this top piece off, and I've redrawn the lines a little bit higher up. Then I use the angle grinder with a skinny disc to cut these pieces off. Off camera I cut two pieces that will cover these holes on the ends. They are tacked in place and then I fully weld them off camera. With all of the welding complete, it's time to do some tidy up with a flat disc. I've set up the scroll saw on the platform and this is going to work out pretty good. There's a side view there and I've tested this out while sitting in front of it, and it's at a good height. Now I've screwed the feet in, and I can screw them in a little bit more if I need to drop this down a little bit. Those feet have about another 4 inches of travel, so if I want it higher, I can unscrew the feet a little bit to make the whole stand higher. The next step is to figure out how we're going to make the table tilt. Before I do that, I need to square up this board. Looks like I'd cut something out with a jigsaw in the past, and I wanted some nice straight lines. Once they're all cut, I sand down all the edges there so that I don't cut my fingers. I think the simplest way is to use these hinges here. So they'll be welded to the frame under here somewhere, and then there'll be screws that go in here. The hinges are clamped in place and I tack them onto the frame. Then I drill the holes for the bolts to go through, and this is probably not a very good shot here, but you get the idea. I countersink the top so that the bolts don't stick up and protrude. Then the bolts are all put in place and a washer and a lock nut are put underneath. Here I'm tightening up the last one. Then I can test out the lid, and this works absolutely perfect. The lid will probably only come up about this high. I need to make 2 brackets that bolt to the wooden platform, and I'm using this 2" by 2" angle iron. I drill 2 6mm holes through this part, and then I flip it over, and this is drilled out to 10mm, although that's an 8mm drill bit, and I have to drill that hole out larger a bit later. I then clamp those brackets onto the platform and drill 6mm holes through the platform. I countersunk the holes at the top here because I'm using the countersunk bolts, and then the brackets are bolted in place. I need to make 2 brackets that get welded to the frame, so 2 pieces of this flat bar. I'll also cut off 2 pieces of this flat bar, which is from the old lathe, and this already has a hole in it and it's rounded off, so that's quite handy. I tidy up the cut edges on the belt grinder and round those corners off a little bit. Those 2 brackets are bolted through onto the brackets that I bolted to the top. I've drilled a hole in here and also in here, and I can bolt these 2 together, and then that will allow me to weld this little bracket onto the frame along here. When I weld this on, I tack it at the top and tack it at the bottom. I didn't weld the side because I didn't want it to come out of square. The holes here and both down on these bottom brackets are for when the platform is down in its bottom position. And then I'll put a spacer in here, and that will allow me to lift this up 15mm each time, and I can drill holes through for these positions. This is the first one. You can see the spacer is in there, 15mm piece of board, and I'm just marking out where the hole needs to be drilled. I continue on, and this goes to about 75mm high. I take off the brackets and drill these holes in the drill press off camera. Everything is complete on the frame, so now it's time to paint it. I give the tabletop a good sanding to get it nice and smooth. Then I paint it with a decking oil. I put 2 coats on the top and a coat on the bottom. The tabletop is screwed back onto the hinges on the frame. And then I mount the 2 brackets for the height adjusting. Then the adjusting arms are fitted, and I've actually bolted this on the wrong side of the bracket, so I do have to change that later. Lastly, the adjusting arms are bolted to the brackets that are fixed to the frame. And that is the stand all painted and the top is fitted. I've measured up where the feet go for the scroll saw, and I've got 2 points here, so I'm going to drill those holes first with a 30mm force niblet. And then the saw is tested in those 2 holes. This is quite a heavy saw, and that works pretty good. So do the last 2 holes at the back off camera. Now this saw is pretty solid, particularly in those holes. It isn't going to move anywhere. The next job is to fit this power board, and I'm going to put it on the front leg here. Now I thought initially that I'd put it on the side of the machine back here, but I think on the front leg is probably a better position. Pretty simple task this one. There's 2 holes to drill. Then I tap those 2 holes out to a M4 thread. The screws are screwed into those threads. I don't screw them in all the way, and that's how the board clips on. It's a little bit tight at the bottom, loose at the top, so a little final adjustment and that's all pretty good. Now I'm going to deal with this cable here and pin it all up properly when I get the foot pedal and deal with that. These are the blades I've bought. I've got number 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 and 12. And spiral 2, 0, 2 and 4. And I've bought these containers here, and they're 150mm long, which take these blades comfortably. So it's just a matter of getting all the blades out of the packets and putting them into these tubes. And I've written on the tube lids the sizes of the blades as well. The normal blades will fit in here on the scroll saw. And this is still below the table, so they're not going to get in the way. And there's 6 of them there. And on the other side, I'll put the spiral blades, so I have 3 of them there. That is the blades all sorted out, the stand sorted out, and the power board sorted out. Now, I did mention that I was going to add a foot pedal here. And I did order one from Amazon a few weeks ago, and it hasn't turned up. And they said that it's gone missing. So they've given me a refund, and I'm going to have to order the part again. However, I don't have it at the moment, so I can't show you how to add it to the scroll saw station. So I'm going to leave that for another video, and we'll end this video here. Now I have actually used the scroll saw here sitting down, and it's at quite a good height. I have not tried it with the table tilted at any of those positions. But I'll try that out at some point and see if it makes much of a difference. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this video. So I hope everyone has a great day. And once again, thanks for watching.